Looking behind on it currently, I believe it might include been a actual dwell troll I saw how deceased summers overnight in Stockholm. He was of light construct and dressed all in dark. I tested inviting out to him, but he ran away, outwardly more than frightened of me rather than I was of him. But I'm receive front of myself. Length up down there were human beings who sat at computers, misuse some human beings on the internet, down there were actual trolls in the planet and they lived in Scandinavia. I scientific on them as a kid. My mom, whose own mom was part Swedish, would recite to me of an old volume spelled in an strange tongue. The yellowed pages, that smelled of powder and sorcery, were imbued in pictures of which looked like gigantic gnomes, huddled about fires or lurking in caves. They had pot bellies and speckled leather, length kinky wool and big hanging noses. It was told they could be tempted out of the wood by the odor of coffee and ham. Several were sound, other defame, but no of them looked whatever loved the creation how ran off of me external the civilization building in center Stockholm how night. That is perhaps why I didn't do the connect once. Trolls precede the arrival of Christian in Scandinavia by lot centuries. Perhaps millennia. But while it did come, and conventional folk was tailored to fit the times, the trolls too modified their behavior. They advanced a hate of chapel bells. It was told they couldn't stay the odor of Christians. Human beings said stories of rock thrown at places of worshipping by building, tamper by irate trolls. Were these plant of clean imaginative? Or were these actual human beings opposed to a drastic new faith framework, one how would broom off the force of the pagans in favor of an strange overseas belief? And did such dissent maybe refuge in the forest to dwell for the reaches of the new public norms? Maybe. The creation in dark founded out of the dark of the civilization building in a swimming pool of lighting under an advertisement accumulation. His turn pale person flashed brief by a black cap how was stretched downward shut above his eyes. The person how stared behind at him of the poster was gigantic by compare. How person belonged to the Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. A few years ago each 16-year-old in Sweden was given in a backup of her experience, we should all be feminists. Adichie's urge chimed in the urge of the Swedish by the government, himself an openly feminism authority, and led by the identical side how has regulated Sweden for lot of the recent age. By the leftward-leaning public Democrats, Sweden became a lighthouse for human beings about the planet who certain their policy as advanced, economically leftward-leaning and social permissive. It was a drastic new faith framework. Largest Swedes adoptee it in fervor. At low in social. But the nation has not been immunity to the polarization how has swept via some West democracies. The Europe asylum seeker meltdown of 2015 was a late spot. How year, Sweden guessed in more than migrants per capita rather than though Germany. The unanimity was, it was the order item to do. Following all, the is a rich nation how prides himself on creature a human superstate. But of profound in the wood, down there came rumblings of disagreement. The at first to offer vote to these concerns were the Sweden Democrats, aside in its cradle in the neo-Nazi motion. Maybe since of how, such dissenting sounding were rapidly sacked as the ravings of bang racists, view for the bounds of reasonable norms. But though as the migrating meltdown has eased, the sounding of disagreement include grown up louder. Which has all the to do in Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Anything very, besides maybe how her strangeness, her black, and her feminist, once mark her out as an icon, a graphic embodiment of the permissive values of frankness and comprehensiveness how include be thing shut to a domestic religious in Sweden. The creation in dark looked stealthily on him. Of an within pouch he stretched out a stripe of document and jammed it onto the banner, immediately above Adichie's eyes. It was later how he noted me. I wouldn't include mind lot of it, if it hadn't been for his odd response. He began walk off at a quick step. Hey. I named following him. I was fair interesting. He ducked in a party road and ruined in a work. I engraved following him, our footsteps crashing above the cobblestones, but I lose him downward an alley by the party of a cemetery. I wandered behind up to the banner. The stripe of document had two speech published on it, nay. Yuta. That tool, not. Of. Surveys propose how more than rather than part of Icelanders trust in, or at low amuse the opportunity of the life of, the Hulja folk, the lie human beings. Mostly they're a peaceful rock, he's told, but if you consider them in contempt, for sample by blasting operations dynamite via their fate houses and churches, they're not restrained on show their discontent.